Grab a drink, a joint, or maybe just your chair. It's time for Business After Hours with Summer Thorne and Claire Tinkler. What's going on, everybody? Today we've got Kristen Graham with us, who is, goodness, she is aware of many hats and a doer of all things. Kristen is a multiple business owner. She owns KG Fitness Solutions and SFB Exotics with her husband Chris. She's a real estate investor. I know she's an influencer. She's an OnlyFans creator. You've got a car business.
Mom.
You've got a mom. You've got so much going on, Kristen. Do you want to tell us a little bit about everything?
Oh my gosh. We were just saying too, I don't even know how all this happened. Like I ended up with so many different hats to wear and it just came out of nowhere one day. Like I started with nutrition and training and it was this like side hustle. I worked a full-time job, 40 hours a week. I owned a gym in New Jersey. I also did meal prep, which a lot of people don't know. I used to actually meal prep for people, like physically cooked for them and brought them their food, kind of meal
Oh my
prep.
god.
I'm not even kidding. So, like, I was doing all of that, and I started, like, dabbling in a side hustle where I would write people's nutrition plans, and then it became training in nutrition, and then I opened up an LLC, and everything has been crazy ever since because that's where it all started. And then with training and nutrition, the only way to advertise really is social media. So I was always good at Instagram, and then I got good at YouTube, and now I'm pretty good at TikTok. So things I guess the best way to describe what happened is I spiral, but in a positive way. Spiral up. We spiral up, yeah. We just keep
Yeah.
adding new things, and as long as it's providing me some kind of monetary compensation, I'm good with it.
Yeah, I actually watched the CPA After Dark, which you've got multiple podcasts too going on.
Yeah.
I'll have to add that in the mix. But I was able to watch the CPA After Dark episode with you and Chris and how y'all got the SFB Exotics going and with
Mhm.
the snakes and everything. And I would have never, how the income multiplies. And I think Chris talked about that. And that was pretty
Mhm.
interesting too, because I would have never seen you and thought, "Oh, yeah, Kristen has a snake business." But I guess you don't
Most
really think
people don't think
anybody.
but yeah. I think in that, episode too, we talked about how a whole bunch of, like, over 40-year-old men with they're just a very intricate group of men that are into snakes. Just leave it at that. But they all get so excited to see Chris, so
That's too funny. Yeah, like, I
it
feel
is
like I wanna go to a what is it, like a trade show for.
they have yeah, it's a snake expo or, like, a reptile expo, and snakes are there's a lot of snakes compared to anything else, but they'll have, like, geckos and bearded dragons and all kinds of stuff. But, yeah, those expos
No
are
Komodo
interesting
dragons,
just and you
right?
have what's that?
No Komodo dragons, right?
They might actually have them there if they're legal in the state that they're doing it, because some snakes aren't legal. So you have to be very careful. They're not legal in certain states. Like, when we
Okay.
moved from New Jersey to South Carolina, we didn't go to Florida because you're not allowed to have Burmese pythons, and we have 3 Burmese pythons.
Oh,
So,
shoot, you're
we
in
were
South
allowed in New
Carolina?
Jersey. We're in South Carolina,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Myrtle
I'm
Beach.
Greenville.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're in Myrtle
Yep.
Beach.
Yeah. Yes, okay, so that makes sense. So Florida was on the list, but you can't have what did you say,
Mhm.
Burmese pythons there?
Burmese pythons. Those are like the big Britney Spears snake. I've posted photos
Oh,
with those before, but they're
Yeah.
cool. They're very cool, but because they're taking over the Everglades, you're not allowed to have them down there, and you have to have a special license, and it was a process that we weren't willing to go crazy on.
Yeah. It's
so I
not
SFB Exotics, is that you guys feel snakes? Is that like the right term? Like feel snakes or
So we breed them. So we have actually in the room behind where my camera is sitting, we have about 100 snakes in there. And there's like a breeding season. And my husband does all of the pairings and figures out who's going with who. But we'll actually sit down and put a male snake, a boy snake, and a girl snake come together and they lock their tails. And that's snake sex. We'll literally breed them, and then we pull the eggs, we put them in an incubator, we hatch them, and then we sell them when they're after they've eaten a few times. There's a whole process that goes into it, but then we sell them. Yeah, it's a whole process, but yeah, so we're considered breeders.
okay.
yeah. And then I didn't realize that's another thing I learned. See, I learned everything. I learn every something every time I watch that podcast, but I didn't realize you could ship
Yeah.
snakes in the mail. Like it's just, yeah, let me go ship my python to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the SFB, so my Instagram handle is KGramSFB, which stood for when I first opened up my training in nutrition, it was stronger, faster, better nutrition. That's where it all started. So somebody said something to Chris. It was like some fucking breeder. And we were like, oh my God, that's hysterical. Because the SFB like just carried over. So, oh my God, it's SFB Exotics. That's hysterical. So we just keep rolling all of our things into each other. So it was just funny. But a lot of people don't
Yeah.
realize that's where the SFB came from.
Well, I was gonna ask as far as brand identity across all the things you do, but maybe in a SFB Exotics and a influencer business, like how do you establish and maintain like a consistent brand across all this?
That is a very good question. So when I got into, I guess, years later, so I started my business in 2016. That's when I like stopped making it a hobby and turned it into, I got an LLC. Like I started making some money and I was like, okay, I have a part-time gig going on here. Couple, and I was dabbling. I didn't really know anything about running a business, but I
Yeah.
hired a business coach at the end of 2018, I think. And we had talked about the idea of me opening up a separate Instagram because my Instagram, I post business stuff like training and nutrition stuff. I post my clients on my story. I post photos in lingerie. I post photos in bikinis. I post me working out. You name it. It's my Instagram has always been anything and everything that I can get myself into because I've always believed that the more you put out there, the more people you're gonna touch in some way, shape, or form. So you might be following me because CPA After Dark and you're into like business and it's, oh, Kristen talks about business sometimes or accounting sometimes. Let me follow her because of that. And some people might be following me because maybe it's a nutrition and training tip, or maybe they just like to see me in a bikini. And so I'm hitting all these different people and all these different angles. And when I talked to my business coach, I was like, hey, and I hired him just for coaching, to coach me on being a better coach
Yeah.
and like the business side of things. And I was like, so should I have a separate Instagram? Because I feel like I can't just post training and nutrition stuff. I can't just try and draw clients in all day long. Like that takes away from who I am. And he was like, you don't need your own Instagram for that. You just need to sprinkle it in more often so people know, okay, there's a brand in here too, but you still wanna have all those people in there so you're attracting them. So if I was to start a whole new Instagram page, you start from scratch, right? So you have 0 people on there, and then
Yeah.
maybe some of your clients come over, right? So maybe say maybe you have 100 people on your Instagram that you're not touching enough people yet.
Yeah.
So that's not really good advertising because I don't have an audience. We're utilizing my current reach, which people pay me to be an influencer. Like supplement companies pay me to work with like Blackstone Labs, they pay me to work with them. So if I didn't have a reach, there would be no reason for somebody to pay to work with me. When I do like a YouTube collaboration with different companies, they pay me to work with them. You need to have that reach. So he
Yeah.
was like, "Why don't you utilize the reach that you've already built over the years? Why start something new?" And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's a really interesting way of looking at things." And I was looking at it backwards, like, "Oh, I need a separate page." But even for CPA After Dark, we didn't even start a separate we don't have a separate Instagram for CPA After Dark. We have, like, my brand and we have Marit's brand, and we push people into, like, the podcast.
Yeah.
We didn't even start a separate Instagram handle for it because it was like we're already doing all the things on our across our own platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you are your brand. It's
Yeah.
such a good idea. I'm like, "Oh, shit, maybe I should get rid of the business after hours." We'll see what happens, but it does make sense, and it is really hard to have multiple accounts and,
It's hard to
cover.
juggle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you already have enough to juggle as it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we changed my YouTube channel, used to be Kristen Graham Athlete, and it didn't flow nice. And then we started doing things that were more than just fitness on my YouTube. So at one point, my husband was like, "Why don't we just change it to Kristen Graham?" Nobody's looking up Kristen Graham Athlete, and it's a mouthful. And when you say like Kristen Graham, youtube.com/Kristen Graham Athlete, it was just a lot. So we had changed it to youtube.com/Kristen Graham. I was able to have it. So obviously, I'm the only person that has youtube.com/Kristen Graham. And then my
Yeah.
YouTube, and we were at 500,000 followers this month we hit. So it's
Oh,
been
wow.
growing. It's been
Congratulations.
a constant growth, but It's been fun, but I'm happy that's, like, my brand. Like, now at this point, like, I look at my YouTube, I'm like, I that is who I am now, and it's a cool feeling, and we put everything out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that because I like that you have such a mix on your Instagram and you're not trying to silo these pieces of you. It really is like just in the perspective you talked about that in multiple episodes, but
Yeah.
trying to keep lingerie pictures out of it because like maybe you're worried that it's like it's hushing or like silencing a part of you that doesn't that in the real world if they weren't going to be your
Mhm.
clients because of that, it's like, all right, maybe it's not your
I
thing.
don't yeah, and it's not that I don't need the clients, I love the clients and I love people working with me, but if you're uncomfortable working with me because of that, then there's plenty of other coaches out there and you can hire somebody else, but this is part of who I am, and I put out a really great product and I'm very confident in what I do, and I really haven't had any kind of issues or backlash also being an OnlyFans creator. So I've been lucky that way. I don't know, maybe people don't reach out because of it, but I've never been told, "Oh, no, I can't because I just saw that you're a
Yeah.
creator on OnlyFans." Nobody's ever said that.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you don't mind me asking, like, how did you get into that? Did it stem from and snowball from like the fitness world? And,
The OnlyFans
you know,
thing?
yeah.
Yeah. So, fun fact, people like girls with muscles. Who would have thought? I
And
am a girl with muscles. So, people when
sexy
OnlyFans
too.
became when OnlyFans became, like, more mainstream, people would s slide into my DMs and be like, "Oh, OnlyFans question mark?" And I would just say, "No, stop asking." And then finally, I was asking girlfriends that I knew that were on it, and I was like, "Can you make, so much money on OnlyFans? Like, can I do $1,000 a month on OnlyFans?" And they're like, "Yeah, you could do $1,000 a month on OnlyFans." And I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe that would be cool just to have a little extra go out to dinner money, something
Yeah.
extra." And then my
Yeah.
first month, and I didn't post about it. My first month, we had so many people coming in, and it was just they found me through, like, the search on OnlyFans. I didn't post
Okay.
anything anywhere for a long time. I didn't advertise it, but people were just
Really?
finding me. Yeah.
Like,
Was
what,
that
like a hashtag like muscle? Like what, like how? Like,
So it's a people search me on YouTube too, it's just they search my name. So I've had a good sized following since 2014 when I got really big in CrossFit. That's where, like, my fitness background started. I was a regional level CrossFit athlete. I was I posted on Instagram a lot. Like I said, sometimes a little bit more sexy. You'd see my butt eating my shorts quite often. I have a lot of cleavage, different kind of things that, like, if you watch a regular CrossFit girl, I don't wanna say regular, like, it's not a big deal, but if you most athletic builds don't have boobs, they just don't. So, like, now I'm doing double unders and my boobs are bouncing, and I realize what I'm bringing to the table. I'm not gonna pretend like it's not there. I'm very aware of it, but things like that were happening, so people were following me, I think more or less because of that kinda stuff. The girls with muscle thing, I think people were following me on Instagram because of it, and then they would just search on OnlyFans. They could have been searching my name. I don't think that there's any way to link girls with muscle to me. I think you actually have to search, like, Kristen Graham or K Graham SFB. You could also find me like that on
yeah.
OnlyFans. But if you're looking up, like, my first and last name or my Instagram handle, you're gonna find me.
So they were just sliding into your
They
DMs and you were just
they
like,
were
shit,
looking.
let's just go ahead and try this out. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
That's
then so the
amazing that
Yeah.
you have
first
such a following that would look you up and start generating revenue in the first month you're on OnlyFans. That's the thing. People don't
yeah.
understand, like, they think that OnlyFans or YouTube creators, like, "Oh, that's the easy way." Yeah, it's an easy way to make money or whatever, but you have to bring something to the table, first of all, and you have
Yeah.
to market, you have to get an audience. You're not just paid right off the bat, like, you have to generate so much content and get so many people following you.
Yeah. Especially with YouTube and when you're getting onto YouTube, so many people start it and then they stop it. And it's, "Oh, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel," and they're, like, excited, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna make some money," and it's you're not gonna make money for, maybe the first, like, year or so if you're lucky, but after that, you start to have a monetized channel, you have some subscribers coming in, you have your watch hours, and then you start monetizing. But in the beginning, it's just a slow grind. OnlyFans is easier in the sense that you're not waiting for monetization to happen. Whatever you put out, you put a price tag on it, and even
comes when I
into your page, like, somebody pays a subscription fee to come in and see what you post. So at least with that, you're making money right away. It's just a matter of, do you have a following and will people be looking for you? Do you have a way to get your link out there to people? So that becomes, so you can make money right away on OnlyFans, but you have to have that, like you said, the ability to market yourself.
Yeah, so it takes about, what'd you say, like, oh, a little over a year if you're, and you have to stay, I'm sure, stay consistent with
So active.
posting. Yeah, that's, I'm
Mhm.
sure
Yeah, like right
it's
now we're
like,
in a good stream of posts. We post 2 videos a week usually, and I post reels or shorts, I guess, on YouTube almost every day. And the
Oh,
shorts right now are very popular, so they get pushed hard.
what work, man. That's a lot of work that goes into that.
Yeah.
I know.
If I didn't have my husband, I could not do it. He is everybody's, "Oh, he's so lucky to have you." I'm like, "No." Okay, we both bring 2
I
very
need
different things
him.
to the table, but I am so lucky to have him. If without him, I don't work. I really don't. He's the one
Yeah,
that's,
'cause
okay, like, yesterday I was working out, he's, "Okay, do that again, and I'm gonna film a short." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll run on the treadmill
And
again, and everything's bouncing, but I will fine.
well, he's
yeah,
like
'cause
Take
what,
to the
highlighted. I'm
team."
pretty sure everyone else will too.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, 'cause isn't that how it got started, was Chris just, like, filming you, like, doing little shorts, videos, and just
Yeah.
posting them and got started
He used
that
to
way?
film, like, one-minute videos for Instagram, and I had this guy, everybody wants to put their hand in the pot. So I had this guy reach out, and he wanted to be my manager, and he had sold me on he can get me all these, like, endorsements and whatever, and I was like, "Okay, cool. We'll see how it goes." I didn't have to pay him anything. He would just get a piece of whatever, like, endorsement he would he would get me. I was like, "Okay, cool. So nothing comes out of my pocket. That's great. So let's just see how this goes." He didn't get me any endorsements because I already had a clothing sponsor. I already had a supplement sponsor. There really wasn't much he could do. But the one thing that he did do for me was, it was back in 2014, 15, YouTube was becoming like a thing. And I just used it for CrossFit. I had to film my videos for my workouts and submit them. Then they have to approve them in order for you to move on to the next level. So I only really had a
Yeah.
YouTube channel because of that. But everything was sent to unlisted. Like nobody could see anything. It was just CrossFit could see what I was posting. So this guy was like, "You really need to move all these videos to YouTube and you can make them a little bit longer." So that's how we started. And it was all just video montages of me working out in the gym, lifting heavy, and there was music in the background. I didn't have to talk, which was great because years ago, I was like, "I'm not talking on camera." I'm actually very shy and introverted.
Yeah, which is so crazy to me, but the
Mhm.
same way, but I would
Yeah.
have never imagined that.
Yeah, after, like, an expo, like the Olympia or the Arnold, after talking to people for 3 or 4 straight days, all I wanna do is bury myself in my bed and sleep for the next 6 days because 'cause I'm so, like, mentally drained. Even the tax and legal, you guys going to the tax and legal 360?
I am, I'll be there, but
So, like,
I'll be the same way.
that's how I am, though. By the time I get home, I'm like, "Okay, we're networking, like, we're doing good," and I'm just like, I'll talk to people, and I'm like, "Oh my god." Like, I'm so out of my element because I would rather just be, like, at home behind the computer, like, writing up programming, I'm good to go. I always have a binder with me and I'm writing programming down, and I'm like, "I'm good, like, by myself in my own little world," like, Kristen's very happy, but venturing out and something like that, it's just a lot, like, mentally for me to take in, and I get so tired. Like, I can go out on a Saturday night, don't get me wrong, but that's not, like, 3 and 4 straight days of
Yeah,
talking and
masking.
networking.
Putting yourself out there, and yeah,
Mhm.
yes,
No,
I'll probably come home and hermit up too.
That's
Yeah,
yeah, I just want a hermit.
yeah,
I
'cause
just
you're going to MJ BizCon, so you'll probably be doing the same thing when you
yeah,
get
take a couple days and just like I close the curtains, I get under the blanket, I order food. I don't leave my
Mhm,
house. I order food. Like I will not see the sun for a couple days.
for sure. Yeah, I think we can all agree that is normal.
Yeah,
At least it
yeah.
is
You
for
got to
us.
recharge the battery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great way to put it, you have to recharge.
And you said something earlier about everybody wants a piece of the pie. Have you
Mhm.
noticed that, I guess, with the more followers you have and the more you put yourself out there, have you noticed, is there more scams? Like, people like, I've always wondered that. Do you see more of your everyday scams, like people sliding into your DMs and, "Hey, I've got this for you and I want you to try this. Would you want to be my partner with this?" Have you noticed anything like that?
We get a lot of like, I'll get a lot of what's it called? Like, management companies reach out and they wanna manage my OnlyFans. or they wanna manage my Instagram, or YouTube is a lot, do you want me to edit your videos? And, like, basically all the things that, like, Chris helps me with, they wanna handle. And it's, "No, I'm good. Like, I'm good. We're a team. We got this. We're fine. We're doing really well with everything. We're not overwhelmed, so we're fine." I just get annoyed when somebody's like a management company wants to come in because I don't really know how they work. I just know that if OnlyFans is taking 20% off the top already, so I'm only getting 80, and if you're gonna take maybe another 20, now I'm only getting 60, and I'm not a mathematician, but that sounds like I'm almost at that 50% mark, and I'm putting out all the content. It's all me and my body. I don't feel comfortable not getting a bigger cut of the money that I should be making. So, I
Yeah.
feel like there's no deal that somebody could give me it's like making a deal with the devil to me.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
at a certain type of flat fee would like make sense. But I was gonna ask though, like at a certain point, there's gotta be a lot of time that goes into all of the businesses and then being a mom and being a spouse. I didn't know you were a regional athlete. That's freaking impressive. For those of you that don't know CrossFit and
Yeah.
whatnot, she's one of the best in the world or in the region at least. And so that's an amazing feat because you're competing against everyone in the region.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah.
that's so impressive. After reading your bio that you sent over, this is crazy. How can one person do all of this? And then now they're telling your CrossFit regional competitor that's amazing and insane. And then you work with your spouse, and that traditionally in business, they say don't work with their loved ones or don't do
Yeah.
family. How do you guys handle that? Like, how do you and your husband manage like the business relationship and the personal relationship?
That's a really good question. So, back in 2015, my husband was involved in a shooting. He was a police officer, and he worked nights. I was working for the man at the time. I used to run a $64 million budget for the state of New Jersey, so that was my full-time job. And he retired, and we had to figure out something to do. So, we opened up a cafe at one point. We also had owned the gym, had some stuff going on. But we realized at that time, the whole time we were married, he worked nights, I worked during the day. We crossed paths for an hour or 2, and that was it. So we only actually saw each other for an hour or 2 every day except for on his days off. So we were like, "Okay, we're gonna really figure out if we like each other, or are we, like, heading for divorce. We're gonna
Yeah.
figure this out really quick." And at first it was, like, even stupid things like, it's my TV time, like, I wanna watch Gilmore Girls or something, and he would come in and put, like, wrestling on, and I was like, "What is happening?" And then fast forward a couple of years later, my business is taking off. I'm like, "Hey, babe, I think I need to quit my full-time job." And that was a push-pull for a while but I ran a budget, so I ran my budget at home, and I was like, "Listen, this is where we're at. This is how much money we'll save on wear and tear and my 2-hour commute to work every day, and I don't think I need this anymore." And he agreed, gave 6 months notice, quit my job, and I was at home. The bad thing was, I didn't know how to work for myself. I knew how to punch a clock. I knew how to wake up and go to work, but I didn't know how to organize everything. And I'm a very organized person. But structure, I learned from my business coach a couple years later that without structure, you're gonna fail in business. So if anybody is watching this and starting a business, live and breathe by your calendar. That is, like, first and foremost. That is, if it's not in the calendar, it does not exist, and I will not, like, you don't get penciled into my calendar as, like, a maybe. You're either on the schedule or you're not, and my time is very valuable. So if you're in there, you better show up or Kristen gets really mad. But it's the same thing with Chris because now I'm balancing. He's not as organized as I am in the sense of in his head, he's, "Oh, I have," like today, he had to go to the Airbnb on our short-term rental, and we had the HVAC company come to maintenance the unit, and he knew this week at some point he had to go to the Airbnb. If it's in my calendar, he won't put it in his calendar. So if it's in my calendar, I look at my calendar every night before I go to bed. I look at the calendar in the morning when I wake up, and I'm like, "Hey, you have to be there at 9:30. This is what you have to do." He just knows I'm gonna give him the direction, and that's just my place in the business. Not that I'm barking out orders, but I'm holding on to that structure because without it, I know I almost went back to work. Before I hired my business coach, I was like, "Oh, I just need a little bit of extra money. Maybe I could work for the tanning salon." He was like, "Maybe I'll go to Home Depot." And just for a couple hours a week just to bring home some extra cash. And then I hired my business coach, and that was the best thing that I ever did because of all the things that I learned on how to be organized and structured and how to push and how to set goals and how to achieve the goals that I'm setting. And all those things make a huge difference. And he's on board with all of it. Like, we'll sit down and have it's breakfast, and I'm like, "Okay, this is our plan for the week." Like, Monday morning, "This is our plan for the week. These are our goals monetarily that we have to hit this week. We have all of our YouTube videos scheduled. We're good, or we don't, and we need to film something." Everything is organized, and if it's not if we know we'll pinpoint what we wanna do, and then I'll look at my schedule and I'll schedule, "Okay, on Tuesday at 6, I don't have a client, we can film a YouTube video." And I start, like, putting it in. But it's all structure, and we don't operate well without it.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
have, like, your own strength that you're leaning into, like, you're not trying to do it all, and, he's not trying to do it all, you're really
Yeah.
trying to do the thing that the other person maybe isn't, as good at.
Yeah. But he claims real estate professional status, and he really does, like, he's around the clock with the rentals, like, we just had a microwave go at one of our rentals, so he's dealing with that. We had one of the bathroom fans has to be replaced, so he's contacting the electrician, meeting the electrician, getting all that stuff done, but he has to do it because he's the real estate professional, so he has to put in so many hours with our long-term rentals. He definitely takes the reins with that. Like, I'll get phone calls. I handle a lot of the when we need, like, a new tenant, like, I do a lot of the business stuff. I had a business degree. I do all of our, like, bookkeeping, accounting stuff for all the businesses. Like, I do all that back end stuff, but he does all, like, the hands-on. He's very handy too. Thank God he's so handy. Having all the houses, it's helpful to have somebody that's handy.
Yeah, I was about to say because it sounds like y'all both do something with every business, but, like, you
Yeah.
each have your own main thing that y'all do with each
Mhm.
business.
Yep. Yeah, like, I'll let him bark out the orders a little bit when it comes to the houses because he's the one that's dealing with them more, like, in the grind every day. So if he needs me for something, like, I'm there and it's just point me in the direction. "What do you need? Need me to run to Home Depot? I got it, no problem." But
Yeah.
when it comes to like, my schedule and even being up like, this morning, I had a client at 5 AM, so I was up at 4:15, and if the dog wakes up in the middle of the night and has to go out, he's getting up with the dog because he knows I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning, he gets to sleep until 7. So he's handling anything that happens in the middle of the night is on him because Kristen needs her sleep. But we're a
Yeah.
team, it works because it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know the fitness side of everything is growing tremendously, so, like, how do you decide, "Okay, I wanna devote this much time and resources to the fitness side?" How do you determine your time is you only have so much time and resources, so how do you decide which business gets what, I guess, in a sense?
Yeah, so it's personal training is great, but it is very I have to be there, right? Like, it's Kristen in person. So from I have my schedule and I'm flexible. If somebody is like, "Hey, I need a 2 o'clock slot," I can. I just don't normally do it, but anywhere from 5 AM until 11. I actually have one client that sometimes is 11 to 12, but so say noon. So 5 AM to noon is personal training slot. So if somebody wants personal training, I get them in that time period. I don't book doctor's appointments, meetings at the school, like nothing else happens in that time period because I make myself available Monday through
Right.
Friday. Same thing like in the afternoon from 4:30 until 9 o'clock. If somebody wants to get in on my schedule, they can. But there's that big gap in the middle of the day from noon till 4:30 that I can get if I need to film a YouTube video, my own workout. When I work out myself, it's gotta be done in that period of time, which a lot of times it doubles as a YouTube video, so it works out nice for me.
Yeah.
But sitting down and writing out programming and stuff, so if I'm working on your nutrition plan, I'm doing it in that window. Writing up programming, I'm doing it in that window. Filming OnlyFans content requests and stuff that I get, it's in that window or it's after 9 o'clock at night. So it just depends on when a request comes in and what it is and if I can get it done in that 4-hour time block. But it's just a matter of knowing that, like, my training and nutrition, my personal training happens in like these 2 blocks, and then I have to make time for everything else in that 4-hour window. And in those 2 blocks too, I also have, what's it called? Like my calls, like with my remote clients. Like Claire, we have our call, I think it's 11 o'clock. It's in that 5 AM till noon window. And then I have some clients that I have like late in the afternoon where they do fit into that. And it does fall into my personal training, but I have to, it's like my training and nutrition happens here and it happens here. So when you get FaceTime with Kristen, that's when you get it. It's in those 2 windows. And I try not to give a lot of FaceTime because like in the middle of the day, because then it takes away from all the other things. So if I have to have a meeting with, like last week, we had a meeting with the financial advisor. So that happened in that other 4-hour window in the middle of the day because it didn't interfere with anything else. If I get my hair done or my lashes done, it's in that window. So
Yeah.
things like that, it all has to, everything has to align. Otherwise it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're using time blocking. I found is really helpful
For sure.
ADHD or neurodivergent or whatever. Because it's really hard. Like our task list just never goes down as a business owner. You'll never be done. You're never done with
Yeah.
anything. So it's good,
Yeah.
like blocking out, okay, these 2 hours for marketing, these 2 hours are to do my own book and not just everyone else's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That is, and like with the OnlyFans thing, because what I notice is a lot of girls, a lot of creators, a lot of dancers don't realize that they are a business owner, but and so they get, I guess they don't have boundaries around, they get a request come in on OnlyFans and they don't think of it as, hey, like it's like an email coming in and you tell your clients, I'm going to get back to you within 20 to 48 hours. You know, it's not, like, hey, you get this request in, it has to be done immediately. I feel like a lot of people struggle with, it's just maybe the boundaries side of things. Like,
Boundaries are big.
and you've got so many businesses, so you've gotta have, they've each gotta have their own boundaries, right? Or do you just
Mhm.
have one big set of boundaries for all of them and they all kinda
No,
coincide with each other?
it's definitely different, and each business is special in their own right. Like, I just had somebody new starting this week, and she wanted to start at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, "Okay, I have an opening, that's great." So I put her in, and then a couple days later, she was like, "Can I do 6:30?" And I was like, "Yeah, no problem." So I'll bump her up a half hour. 5 AM is my earliest. And then a couple days later, she's like, "Can we do 5:30?" And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I could do 5:30." And then yesterday, she texted me at 9:30 at night. I had to be up for a 4:30 client. And she's, "Can we do 5 AM?" And I was like, "We can." I was like, "But 5 AM is the earliest." I see it, I'm seeing a trend here. I will not open my book before 5 AM. Like, I can't. I just know myself, and I will be cranky, and, like, 5 AM is, like, that breaking point for me, so I cannot open my book before 5 AM. So
Yeah.
I had to tell her, like, sternly, like, "It's 5 AM or, like, it's after that, it cannot be before that." The other thing I started doing too is with personal training, especially, the people especially that pick a really early time slot, because I've had people say, "I'm gonna start Tuesday morning at 5 AM," and it's, "Okay, great." And I wake up and you don't show up. And to me, that's a problem because my regular clients still pay me when if they, like, bail, I get paid still. But somebody
Yeah.
brand new, I've never met you before, so we really haven't established, like, the terms of how you pay me, and if they didn't come, they were clearly not bringing cash, so I ran into that problem, so now I won't even take a new client without them paying me upfront, which I started doing because that's boundaries, and it's my time is so valuable, and if I have to be up 5 AM 4 days a week, and now you're taking my only 5 AM time slot that I have left, and you don't show
Yeah.
up, I coulda got an extra hour of sleep, or I coulda filled it with somebody that would have shown up. So, with boundaries, it's like knowing how far I'll go and having, like, that window, and the other thing is too for me, if I don't work out, it's a problem, like, it's mentally like, when we go to tax and legal, I'm gonna work out every morning, and I was gonna book an Airbnb, but I couldn't find a gym close enough, so we ended
Yeah.
up booking the Scott, and they're supposed to have, like, a decent gym there. So even if I can get in there and just do some dumbbell stuff, like, I just need to sweat a little bit every morning for my own mental health. So I've gotten it ran into issues where it's, wow, like, people are booking me, like, around the clock, and that's why now I have my windows. If you're booking outside that window, there's gotta be, like, I have to really be able to get you in, and a lot of times, I'm not as flexible in that 4-hour window that I have where I can make content or film a YouTube video or get my hair done or whatever. That 4-hour window is also my workout time. So
Yeah.
without that, I get very stressed and very irritable. And not only with so that's fitness, right? Then there's the OnlyFans stuff too, and that's like a whole special like you said, Claire, when, somebody sends in a request, it's you don't have to jump on it in that moment, but you have to stay on top of it and you can't let it you can't go like a week and not get them the content that they're asking for. You're either doing it or you're not, and you have to stay on top of it and get it done. 24 to 48 hours is very reasonable, but you really don't
Yeah.
wanna push it back farther than that. So if I have a really long day, it's okay. If I'm done at 9 o'clock with my last client, I have to schedule okay, at 9:30, I have to film some custom content. It just is what it is. And it's a job. It's sometimes it's fun and sometimes it's sexy and sometimes it's very much a job and it requires time, it requires attention. And if there's something that I don't feel comfortable doing, I'll say I'm not doing it. But you do need to schedule and block out time, even for something like that where people think, oh, it's so easy. We said that earlier, right? Oh, it's so easy. I'll just start an OnlyFans and I'll make money.
So
No, if you're
not.
doing it right, it's a business and you really do need to block out your time and set boundaries and know what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do and stick with it.
Yeah, because you don't half-assing anything, like, it's still there it's all businesses, so you still are putting yourself 100% into it because it is you and it is your product and your brand, you know?
Mhm. Absolutely.
And
But
oh,
what? No, like, I was just gonna ask because I know I'm struggling with it, like, today, because today I won't be able to work out just because of timing and scheduling, and I struggle with that really hard. So,
Mhm.
I'm sure you see probably with clients, like, that you have, do you see them struggling, like, to work out, like, when their schedule is, like, psychotic and crazy and I don't know, I just feel like maybe sometimes I'm not alone with I don't put myself first and give myself 100% and time to work out, and I feel like I'm not maybe the only business owner that does that, and
You're definitely not the only person that does that, and we all fall into it, especially because it's especially when you think, "I could work out now, or I can maybe bring on another client, or create some content to maybe bring on another client," but you need to focus on if there's a special window during the day, and it's sometimes people try and work out later in the day, and it's not always great. If you can work out I always say the earlier the better, because you're not putting out fires usually later in the day. I'm sorry, you're not putting out fires in the early part of the day. Fires usually come, at lunchtime, and it's like people skip their lunch break. Am I right? So,
yes,
people skip
so
their lunch
true.
break, work through lunch, I gotta put out this fire. Oh my god, something else came up, and it's by the time, the workday's over, you're so mentally fried. It's like going to an expo, you're like, "Oh my god, I just wanna be a hermit and not get up and not do anything." Like, okay, that also means you don't wanna go to the gym either. That's why the earlier in the day I know for me, the earlier in the day I can work out means I'm gonna get the workout in. And I tell that, to everybody, the earlier you can set yourself up before breakfast, get it in because it's out of the way and it's done, you'll feel accomplished. If you happen to get out later on, you're like, "Hey, I think I'm gonna go back on the treadmill for a little bit." Great. Then you just got bonus points. But at least in the beginning of the day, if you get your workout in, it's done, it's over with. Gym's a little bit slower, so you can get in and get out and get moving, and you feel accomplished, and it also gives you energy for the day. So you're just in a better mood.
Yeah,
I definitely struggled with that too, Claire. Like the first year I did not take care of myself. I hermited for the whole year. I was like, I'm just gonna go full force work until I fall asleep on the couch. What
yeah,
it was that cyclical thing of, oh, that's affecting my mental health, it's affecting my fitness, it's affecting my business. But I think it is hard, like, when you do set up those time blocks and, like, those parameters, sometimes like, you have to be strict with it too, like, you have to implement it. You can't just put it on your
Mhm.
calendar, like, "Well, I did it." You have to actually follow through and not let other things bleed into the time block that you
Yes.
yourself.
It's that follow
yeah.
through.
Yep.
It really is, which because 'cause I've got my alarms for all my meals, and sometimes I'm guilty of pressing snooze, like, 3 times, and I'm like, "Just go fucking eat, Claire, it's not a big deal, just takes 10 minutes."
Yeah, it's quick. It's quick, and you
But
feel better after you get the meal in.
I know, but it's just sometimes I don't know, is it just like a hard-headed, stubborn business owner thing? Because 'Cause you're just like, "I just wanna finish this one thing."
Yeah, it absolutely is. And really, you're gonna be your own advocate, and that works It works for you and it works against you because you're the only one that's gonna you have the work that you have to get done, and you're the only one that's gonna do that work. Nobody else is gonna say, "Claire didn't get it done, I'm gonna do it for her." This is just Claire's work, you have to do it. So it's there. It's like your blessing and your curse, but this whole diet and exercise is there too, but nobody's gonna make you your food, nobody's gonna hold your hand and walk you to the gym. Like, you have the plan, you're the one that has to physically get up and do it and implement it. So you have that, like, burden on, like, the work end, but you also have that burden on the fitness end. But if you pay attention to your alarms and don't snooze them and get up and move and do what you have to do, number 1, like, snoozing, it bleeds, like Summer just said it, it's you're bleeding into the next time slot, really. So if
Yeah.
you stop hitting the snooze button, you're gonna get it done, it's gonna take you 10 minutes, you can move on to the next thing, you're good to go. Or you can go to the gym, be there for an hour, set yourself a goal, even if you don't finish the workout. I'm gonna be there for 60 minutes. Whatever I get done in 60 minutes, I accomplish something and leave. Because if it's bleeding over into something else, it's gonna stress you out anyway. So
Yeah.
just set yourself that goal, "Okay, I'm giving myself an hour," or, "I'm giving myself 45 minutes." It's 10 minutes there, 10 minutes home, that leaves me about an hour. And don't bleed into anything else.
That's so true. Yeah. It,
And I think it's the words we say to ourselves sometimes too. I have to go to the gym right now. And I started saying it different in my mind where I'm like,
I
I
get to.
can. I'm a business owner who has their own time. I can go whenever. I get to go to the gym whenever I want. I get to do that.
Yeah.
So it's really, I don't know. I think you have to reframe it in your mind and this is a privilege. It's a right that not everybody has. And we get to do this stuff. We get to have flexibility in our schedule and not at least a feeling of freedom that
Yeah.
your 9 to 5 workers don't always get.
Yeah. Beautifully put.
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
Mhm.
Just gotta make myself do it. I think because maybe I talk negatively about it because I'm like, I gotta go to Planet Fitness because I used to do CrossFit and I used to be a part of the grunge gyms, which that's what I like to be a part of is like an old school fitness gym and not something like Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
And so when I'm sitting here like I gotta go to fucking Planet Fitness, that's probably not making it any better.
Yeah, but you like Summer said, you get to go. You get to go whatever time of the day you decide is Claire's time, you get to go. And
Yeah.
that's powerful.
And it really is.
Very consistent with that. That, wow. I don't work out, it's sad. Did you struggle with the same thing where there were some times where you weren't able to get it in and you're like, oh, this is what it's like to not get it in and the repercussions of that?
Yeah, for sure. Especially like it was I would say probably January. I started taking more in-person clients. Like I had a couple and then I would post my in-person clients like on my story. Oh wow, like Summer just did this deadlift today. Let me post it on my story. And it's people started seeing and then like Summer would share it. And it was like people started reaching out and they're like, "Hey, I didn't know you did personal training. Are you taking new clients?" And I was saying yes in the beginning like constantly because I could. And then it got to the point where I was like, "Oh, wow." I like today, I go to boot camp because then I can turn my mind off, and it's 45 minutes, and it's my 45 minutes, and I'll get it in, and I'm happy, and it's great. But, like, today, my day was so weird that I didn't get to go. I still actually have not worked out yet, but when I was showing everybody movements, I was, like, doing so much of them that I was like, my glutes and my hamstrings are actually very sore today. So I actually feel like I did work out, but I am gonna work out when we're done, I'm gonna go out and work out, which is great because I have my own home gym, so I get that flexibility, but it is back to your question, Summer, I was getting to the point where it was like, I could go and I would go a class at 4:45, and then I wasn't taking 5 AM clients at the time. So I would go 4:45 and it was great. Then I started having to take 5 AM clients, and then I lost my 4:45 workout window. So I don't get now I'm going 5 AM, 6 AM, 7 AM, 8 AM. If I have a 9 AM, I don't get to go to the boot camp that I usually go to. So, if I don't get one of those blocks cut off, I don't get to go to boot camp. So then I train by myself and it's fine. So usually I'll just train after my 10 AM. I'll just train and it's fine. But I was getting to the point where I was like, "Wow, I feel like my workout is doing something for me. It's like my me time. I wanna turn my mind off. I don't wanna ask for forgiveness. I don't wanna ask for permission. Like, I wanna know that this is my window and I get to do it and nobody's gonna complain about it, and I felt like I wasn't allowing myself to schedule my own fitness in, so now it's on my calendar. So if somebody's gonna take that slot, it's somebody really
Everything.
special, but
Yeah.
I and it's not the same every day. Like, I do give myself that kinda grace where it's like today, it's gonna be later in the day, but the rest of this week, I should actually make it to the boot camp, which is makes me happy. Um, but sometimes it's 7 a.m., sometimes it's 9:30. Like, it just depends on who I have and what time slots they want, but I'm getting there, like, actually able to show up, and it's nice for me because then I get to turn my mind off. But
Yeah.
it's sometimes it really is a struggle, and I'm not a nice person if I don't get to work out and burn some energy.
And for that, there's like an energy buildup I start to get, and then it turns into rage. And I just want to smash everything. And then like I don't know if there's like scientific evidence to link these two, but when I start getting in that like rage pit, I start fucking everything up. Like I run into walls, I spill my coffee, I stub my toe more often, and it just adds on to it. I'm like, I have to go to the gym or I'm too pretty for jail. I can't do this.
I don't know if it's like an actual clinical thing, but I definitely feel that 100%. Like, to the point where, like, have you ever walked into a granite countertop, like, caught it with your hip? Like,
Yeah. That shit does
as soon as
not
I
feel
start doing
good.
that, I'm like, "Oh, it's not a good day. Oh, I'm off the tracks." But yeah, I don't know if it's clinical, but no, I definitely feel that.
So you gotta we gotta make time for it. You have to make time
Mhm.
for yourself or else
It's mental health.
yeah, it
Yeah,
really is.
what I didn't expect was like when I did get back into the gym was how much my brain felt better, how much my like
Yeah.
felt better. It wasn't just, yeah, I like the endorphins from working out, but I had a whole hour where I was looking at my phone or answering emails or being buzzed all the time. It was just a nice break to not be so accessible at that moment.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
well, I
it's you
think
time.
yeah, and I feel like it's like meditating, like answers come to you, like when you're working out. It's something that if you've been working on something or if you need an idea or like just whatever it may be, like I feel answers come to you when you're working out. Like I guess just
Mhm.
because you are quiet and you are quieting your mind and
Mhm. You set yourself
downloads.
free.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
mentioned you probably have to deal with some shitty clients or some no-shows or just sometimes there's just personality differences that occur in these relationships where we have to work
Mhm.
closely. Well, have you implemented like a way to pre-sort or pre it's for I'm looking for
Screen them. Yeah.
So, if somebody's not willing to pay an invoice before they come in, that's usually a red flag. And I also do when I do, like, a discovery call, I used to not charge for it. Now I'll actually charge $50 for a discovery call for 2 reasons. Because I'm an OnlyFans creator, people want to just get on the phone and talk to me and
Oh
waste my
god.
time, and that's not
Yeah.
fair. So, I'm giving people the opportunity to sit down. We have a sit down, we have a conversation about your the troubles you're having, your pain points, different issues that you're having, why you're unable to lose weight, why you're unable to work out, and different things. And I'm giving somebody like that outlet to talk to me, and we're going to have this 30-minute conversation. But then you have people that would get on a call with me and pick my brain about, like, just asking me about, like, fitness, or they saw me on OnlyFans and stuff like that. And it's no, like, these two lines do not cross.
Yeah.
And I've actually had people come to me from OnlyFans and hire me as a coach, and the first thing that I say to them in their initial email is, "We're gonna get on a call. If you are not 100% professional with me, I'm ending the call and I will not work with you. And you're lucky to be able to work with me because I'm very good at what I do. I will push you. You'll do really well if you, like, listen and focus and stay on it, but this is no bullshit. This isn't just a free 30-minute call with me. It does not work like that. My time is way too valuable, and I take it very seriously. So, vetting people, like, charging them $50 for the call seems to be getting rid of people that aren't serious, because that $50 goes towards their first month of training and nutrition, whatever program they decide to sign on with. So,
Yeah.
it goes towards that. So they're not out the money. If they sign up,
Yeah,
we're good.
yeah.
And the same thing with the in-person clients. People will pay me it's $50 for the in-person, and they'll pay me that ahead of time, and then if they don't show up, that's on them, but typically they do show up.
Yeah.
I think money is a very good motivator, people that
Mhm.
like,
Yep, that's
oh,
that's what that's what
Yeah.
Devin was
yeah,
saying. Yeah, it is,
And
and it
also, like, I have fired clients too. There are some people that just suck your energy, and, like, I've had people that's they cancel, and I'm blocking off a time slot for you, and you keep canceling. I could have put somebody else in that time slot. So, I've actually had people say, "You know what? Why don't you come back to me when, like, things wind down, you have a lot going on, things wind down a little bit for you, and you could be a little bit more present in your sessions. I think you're gonna do a lot better, and it's okay, like, I'll come back when I'm ready." So
yeah,
I have politely fired people because then that's sucking my energy out too, and I don't have time for that. I have to be positive all day, every day. I'm dealing with
yeah,
people.
yeah, and speaking of energy, like, you're a life coach too, you
Mhm.
gotta handle, like, the energy vampires, like, you've got to be able to balance it and probably sometimes compartmentalize it and not so you can get rid of it and not store it as your own.
That's one of the hardest things that I have to deal with is not
Taking it
feeling
on.
what people are feeling.
Yeah.
Have the compassion, but also not
Internalize
where
it maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I can't wear people's pain. At first, that's what I was doing. I definitely felt that. It was like I'd get off a call and I'd just be like, "Oh." Like, I feel like I just got the wind knocked out of me, but I'm getting much better at it. I think that's what, like, police do and firefighters do. They have to leave it. So
Yeah.
I turn the computer off. I sit for a few minutes, process what I just felt, and then I'm okay, and I'm like, "Okay, it's gonna stay at the computer, and I'm gonna leave the computer, and I'm good to go."
Yeah.
And it takes a little bit to figure that out.
yeah. But I'll think that's I don't know how you do that. And, but
She does. Yeah. She does it all and she keeps it all together and she's such a badass doing it all.
Mm.
but
Trying.
and then like your daughter is 13. You said that's a great friend. I know that my son hit 13. I was like, who are you? You got lucky. You're a teenager. You're a little different. But my son went from like this like fat cheap little baby, and he was so sweet, and then overnight he was like just mean. Turned into
Oh, no. No, we're still nice, but we're emotional sometimes. So if and it's not consistent, so I'm like, "Oh, it's like she's emotional this week and she's not emotional next week." I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is we're getting there if you're reading between the lines." So
Yeah.
there are days I'll pick her up from school and I'm like, "We're gonna go to Publix and we're gonna get chocolate." And it's, "Mommy, why are we getting chocolate?" And I'm like, "You'll understand it when you're older, but today I think you need some chocolate." Pick out whatever you want. The choice is yours. And she'll just pick out 1 or 2 things, and she's, "I'm good." And I'm like, "Look how happy you are. This is why we get chocolate."
I love that. See, and
Yeah.
like health is so important and I just feel like we don't talk about it. We don't I don't want to say push it enough, but like me growing up, I wish my mom would have worked out with me and taught me more about like taking care of and loving your body is a big thing
Yeah,
too.
huge. But I don't think it
Really?
was as common back then. Like, when our parents were our age, I don't think they were working out like we are. Like, I don't think they pay attention to it. I don't think at least mine didn't pay attention to diet and stuff. Like, we had a balanced meal on the table. We always had a protein, a starch, and a vegetable, but I didn't think anything of it. It's just what my mom did.
Yeah, we didn't talk about carbs, didn't talk about proteins. They're like trying to
Yeah.
No.
they're like, "Hey, we had red meat yesterday. Let's have fish today." We had a lot of,
Yeah.
hamburger helper.
Yeah,
We did
we did
So,
too.
yeah, what can we find?
yeah. Yep. Different boxes or jars, like, we had my mom used to buy this jar, and it was sweet and sour chicken, so you'd cut up the chicken, and she'd put this, like, sweet and sour something over top of it. It was delicious. But yeah, all kinds of, like, easy to prepare and not faulting any of our parents for it. It's just that was the norm back then.
Yep.
Like,
I
now
think
it's not super healthy, but, you know.
yeah.
But I know my mom didn't start working out until right before I got married. That was when she, like, walked into the gym for the first time, and she used to look a little bit tighter in my dress on my daughter's wedding, and I was the first one out of the 3 of us to get married, so it was my wedding that got her into the gym, and she still works out to this day, but she didn't work out when I was a kid. Like, hell no. That's just not something that they did.
What's unique about
Yeah.
never heard that as, "Hey, this was the catalyst to me going to the gym." It's usually
Mhm.
like good in a bathing suit or but it's crazy that your wedding was the motivation for her. Now
Yeah.
had then, like, had you already been involved in CrossFit and regional athlete at that point?
No, when I was me and Chris got married, I was 22, and I belonged to the local gym. I worked out, I dabbled a little bit. I had just gotten breast implants when I was 20, I think earlier that year I got breast implants, and I worked out just to be I was tiny, I was like 120 pounds. I just wanted to stay, like, lean. I played soccer in college, so when I got out of college, it was like, I gotta just stay in shape. And that I just decided to go to the gym. We had did a lot of strength training when I was in college, so I had a background in I guess in powerlifting without calling it power like, we back squatted, we deadlifted, we
Yeah.
did some pressing, we did some curls, some shoulder stuff, like, nothing crazy, but we definitely worked out for with using things that helped us for soccer. So I had some kind of fitness knowledge just because of what I had done in the past. So I would just go in and go through the motions, nothing crazy. And then my mom would come in with me and we would go through the motions together. She was never like a class kind of person. I was never a person that would take a class either. I have no rhythm. Like I can't like focus like that.
Yeah.
Now I can take boot camp and it's fine. And I did CrossFit for years and I was fine taking class then, but I think classes in a regular gym are different than like a CrossFit class.
Yeah, I definitely will. I always found CrossFit much more motivating, and
Yeah.
the clock was something that I didn't anticipate being, like, a really big thing, but it was, like, seeing the clock
Mhm.
and then, like, how
Quantify.
of numbers, so, like, I was able to measure my performance. "Oh, you did
Yes.
here a year ago. You did it today. You did it."
You're faster.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I love that.
Your results without looking at that's, like, the one thing to look at is
The data.
yeah, data. I love data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be measurable. That's huge.
Yep.
Yeah, any goal that you set should be measurable. So if you're just like if you're going to the gym and you're just working out, it's not that it's a bad thing because a lot of people go to the gym and they just work out and they go home and they're just trying to stay above the curve and that's fine. But when you start adding like measurable goals or like you're saying, not even that it's a goal, it's just, oh, I did this workout this time last year and I did it heavier and I did it faster. This year, it's measurably you're performing better, like you're doing better. So it's, oh, what else can I do better? And it makes you push yourself a little harder. And if you're doing things heavier and faster, you probably are looking leaner and stronger. Those are all measurable things. So
One
it's the
thing.
same thing with the scale. Like you don't just say, oh, I want to lose weight. It's, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds. And it's okay. Now we step on the scale and we see what 10 pounds looks like. And you go from there. Measurable is
Yeah.
huge.
Yep.
Person that you signed up for a half marathon?
No, I did. I signed up for a half marathon. I started doing yoga again every day.
Mhm. That you
I
told
blocked
me.
yeah, I blocked out time to run and to go to the gym and to learn to
Good.
skateboard. 'Cause I've been wanting to do that, but I just don't make time for it. I feel guilty
Did you
having
ever
time for
skateboard
myself.
before?
No, but I've had one since 2018, and it's just been sitting here.
Collecting dust.
Yep, so it's time for me to get my shit together and put myself first.
Yes.
Check some things off that bucket list.
Yeah, skateboard,
I
Spanish. I want to learn Spanish, but that because I've always wanted to be in the best shape of my life, and I've never done it because I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna
oh,
work because it was always a second job, and now it's my job, my full time job, but I still am making the same excuses. So like, I just
Mhm.
need to do it.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah. It's
Like,
exciting. You're gonna be able to do things for yourself.
yeah.
yeah, and
But
then
now
when I've got
accountable.
yeah, yeah, accountability is everything.
Yeah, for sure.
We like close off the podcast with a question, and it's a question I love asking because the answers are all different, but they have I noticed a common theme. Well, see if yours is the same. If you were to know something or have knowledge of or experience of something before you started a business, what would that thing have been?
Hmm. I think the power of social media, I think I fell into it, but didn't realize how important it was in the beginning, and I was lucky to have the following that I have, but I wish that I would've leveraged it earlier on, but I'm happy with the way everything has turned out, don't get me wrong, but I
Yeah.
think we didn't realize I don't think anybody really realized the power of social media in the early stages, like, back in 2010, 2012, and then, like, 2014 is, like, when I really started to take off, and it was like, "Oh, wow, like, this thing is, like, big," and, like, the more it grows and the more eyes are on you, the more you can push whatever you're doing, whether it's being a creator. I use it even to, advertise, like, I'll use Facebook and Instagram to advertise my properties, things like that, like, I'll post a link to, like, Airbnb for my short-term rentals, like, you can use social media for so much, and I think leveraging it and Claire, you and I have talked about this too in the sense that my business coach had taught me this. When you're filming a video and you can get multiple platforms touched with one video, like you can take a piece of this and you can get a reel, you can get a short, you can get a TikTok video. Like you can do so much with taking an hour out of your day and filming one thing, and you
Yep.
can repurpose it so many different times. Knowing that now, I wish I had known that years ago. Now I utilize these strategies, and it makes my life so much easier, and I guess the struggle is part of building who you are as a business owner and as a person, but I wish the struggle wasn't so prevalent early on. It's just it was one of those things I wish to answer your question, I wish I knew all that earlier. I know it now, and I'm vocal about helping people to utilize those things now, and hopefully in their early stages, they don't go through the same things that we went through, the building blocks and stuff, but social media is really it's everything when it comes to a business.
It really is. It really is. And
Yeah.
selling yourself. God,
Yeah, really.
it's a big one too.
Sorry,
That's
the dogs
okay.
went crazy.
It's somebody's.
We're so honored to have you on. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for and sharing pieces of your business and all the things you've got going on and all the knowledge that you've shared so far. We're hoping whoever's listening, we hope there's some entertainment value there, and all some lessons that you don't have to learn as hard as we did, such as social media. It's so
Yeah,
yeah, hard to keep up with it, but it's so important for a small business. You're so right.
so important.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I
really is.
appreciate you guys having me on, this was fun.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. And of course, we'll have all your links and everything in the show notes.
Thank
But
you.
I'm excited and we would love to have you back on. But
Yeah,
we're,
definitely.
like Summer said, we're honored, super grateful for it. We love you.
No, love you guys too, this was a lot of fun, thanks for having me.
All right. Y'all have a good day.
See you. Bye,
You
guys.
too.
All right. Bye
Bye.
now.